Welcome to today's webinar sponsored by Trellance and the CU App Store. My name is Pete Keers and I'll be your moderator and one of the presenters today. I'm partner manager for Trellance, a QSO focused on data and analytics. Through its OnApproach M360 enterprise data warehouse solution, Trellance provides credit unions with the means to transform their data into action that benefits members. We've also launched a CU App Store. The CU App Store is the global marketplace for applications that help turn OnApproach M360 data into reports and analytics that provide valuable insights for credit unions. With applications developed by both credit unions and vendors, the CU App Store provides the industry with a place to build and share analytic applications. Check out the CU App Store at www.cuappstore.com. Our topic today is Trellance's OnApproach M360 data services process through the lens of BankBI's performance management and reporting. That title's a mouthful, but it actually describes what we're going to talk about today, folks. The Trellance OnApproach M360 data service process is an optional software component that M360 V4 clients can use with applications such as BankBI to further leverage their data warehouse investment. The data services process allows M360 V4 clients to easily automate the extraction and delivery of OnApproach M360 data to multiple applications offered by third-party vendors. I'll be one of the presenters today, along with Goebel of BankBI. BankBI has collaborated with Trellance over the last 12 months in both development and support of the data services process. I will introduce the data services process at a high level, and Graham will show how it works through the lens of BankBI as an application. For those of you who might not be familiar with them, BankBI is a software as a service company based in the UK, specializing in performance management solutions for banks, credit unions, and the microfinance industry. BankBI provides a cloud-based architecture for implementing a financial and banking performance management solution, delivering pre-built dashboards and reports to mobile devices and the desktop. Via the cloud model, more than 60 financial institutions now rely on BankBI in over 40 countries. Among those are 8 OnApproach M360 clients, whom Graham and his team have been working very closely. Prior to founding BankBI, Graham was a leading core bank vendor as a product director responsible for business intelligence. He also has over 15 years of experience working as a CIO in international banks based in London, UK. There will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to ask questions via the chat or the questions function during the session, and I will read them during the Q&A. Trellance's OnApproach M360 data services process. Our agenda today is I'd like to explain at the beginning what the credit union data problem. Many of the attendees today are M360 customers already. You probably already know some of the things that I'm going to be talking about, but I think it's worthwhile to start out with some basics here that'll set the stage for what the data service process is all about. We'll talk about consolidating data with OnApproach M360, and then the data service processes itself at a high level. That will be my part. And then I'll turn it over to Graham for his take from the BankBI's perspective on how the data services works with their product. So the data service solves a problem. And the problem is disparate sources of data at the credit union. When you have many different sources of data, there's a problem with how to bring them all together so you can have one source of truth at the credit union. Bringing everything together helps in a lot of ways, but one of the things that it does help a lot with is working with third-party vendors. These are companies that you as a credit union are looked to provide solutions for problems that you have. And most of the time, they require data from you, the credit union, to make their product work. So having these disparate sources of data, then how do you bring those all together? And as you know, as an M360 client, that you bring that in with M360. But what is the problem at the moment? If you don't have that, if you don't have an M360 single source of truth, you want to work with a third-party vendor, you end up with a data integration problem, at least a task, if you want to put it that way. And that integration task must be done to make sure that you can work with a particular vendor. In this case, we'll use BankBI as our shining example. What you end up doing with a homegrown version of this, when you have to deal with a vendor, your IT department often is the one that is the go-to group to provide a custom solution with data to this, and it's different every time, and that gets to be hard to maintain. It gets to be a stress on the IT group to do this in the first place. There's all kinds of disadvantages for having to do it this way. But as an M360 customer, you have an advantage. With M360, we take all your disparate sources of data and we bring them into a single unified data model. Everything's all in one place. And with that way, it allows you many, many advantages, not only in being able to do analytics as a single source of truth, but also allows you to work more easily with an application vendor such as a BankBI. So bringing everything together, we have the opportunity to use data from M360 to power the application. And the way we do that is through a process called data service. So the data service process overall involves vendors like BankBI becoming a partner with Trellance. They learn how to use and learn about how the data services process works. And the result is that there's no need at the credit union to build a custom integration every time you want to work with an outside vendor, in this case, a partner of ours. It really is a standardization of data provision using M360. So the process that again, this is a high level, but what does it work? What are we talking about here? Well, first of all, the partner, your partner, let's say in this case BankBI, working with you as a credit union, says this is the data that I need. I need this particular data from your credit union to be able to make our product work. What is provided from the M360 product, this optional module called Data Services, is a set of spreadsheets that is a menu. It's literally a menu of all the data that is available in the M360 product. This is as many as over 20 spreadsheets in different subject areas. They're broken up into different spreadsheets simply to make it easier to navigate. If we had it all in one spreadsheet, which would be possible, it would be more difficult to navigate this menu. So the opportunity there is before the credit union and the vendor the vendor fills this out. And then the credit union has a chance to review the data that the vendor is asking for. It's your data, and so you need to know exactly what data they are proposing to make use of from the M360 product with your data in it. Then this spreadsheet goes to a folder in the M360 system, and a process is run, and the spreadsheets are used as lookup tables to tell the query what data to pull from M360. And once it's pulled the data that's been required by the vendor for their product, it is put into API files, application programming and interface files, in a CSV format. We call them API files. It simply is a way of explaining what they do. So they come in a CSV format in your system at the credit union, and then at that point, they'll have been prearranged between the credit union and the vendor of sending those files to them. Now, Graham will point out and he'll tell you about what part of the pieces of this, some of the details of the data service process, where sensitive information, if there is any needed, if there's any sensitive information of a PII nature, anything that would be something that, as a credit union, you'd be very, very careful with that kind of data. There's a way to encrypt that, and he'll talk about that a little bit. And then you work as a credit union with the vendor to figure out a secure data transfer protocol to get the data to them. In BankBI's case, they have their own process that they use that many credit unions are using today. And so just to wrap up my part, the coding is already done. Your IT group doesn't need to do anything with regard to coding. It's virtually a self-service kind of a situation where you and the vendor can work together to have this, make this process go. It's repeatable and reliable, low maintenance. Compared to you doing it yourself, it's lower cost, and it leverages something that Graham will get into a little more, that's in your M360 product called the Quick Connect layer. In the V4, there is a Quick Connect layer, which is what we call the semantic or the reporting layer that actually provides the data, and that's what those spreadsheets represent. So some final details on this. It is an optional component in M360. It doesn't come with the standard product. It is, and therefore sold separately from the application partner's product. It's not a part of their product. So when you're in a situation like this, you're actually acquiring this data service software from Trellance. And you also, though, will be paying the vendor for whatever charge they have. So these are two separate invoices, one from Trellance and one from the application vendor. Trellance has this as a licensed product. It requires a license key and an annual license fee for each partner situation that you use it for. So if you have two partners with two different products, you will have two different data service licenses, each with their own cost. And but I will say at the outset, this is a question that will come up. Is that how much is it? It's at this point we're finalizing the number right now, but 2 points on this. One is it'll be under $1,000 per year, and secondly, for year one in 2019, we're offering the first year for free, no cost for the license to get this program out there and getting people using it. Trellance installs the data service as a part of the license fee. But if there's any further configuration due to something about your particular data or something with that particular vendor for some reason, then there'll be some additional T&M. But that we are forecasting that will be minimal, if at all, because these are very simple files, and the data, the vendor, who will be our partner, will be aware of what the data is and how to handle it. So at that point, I am going to end my part of the presentation, and I am going to turn it over to Graham.
Okay, thanks so much, Pete, and hello everybody. My name is Graham Goebel, as Pete said. I'm going to look at the data service from through the eyes of a partner such as BankBI, and what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about the work we've been doing around M360, starting with what we've done around version 3, and then why we see the data service connector as so important for us and for the credit unions at version 4. Pete introduced the concept or the quick connect views, and I'll talk a little bit about those, maybe go into list those and show the subject matter that they cover, and then talk about the data service and how the data service leverages the quick connect, and how the data service is the vehicle or the process through which you can make data available to a partner like BankBI. And I'll look in a little bit of detail at some of the configuration files that Pete talked about. Finally, I'll try and summarize that and wrap all that up as a set of benefits, both for the credit union, for Trellance OnApproach, as well as for a partner. And if anybody's interested in going to finding out more, then we can cover some next steps. So as BankBI, as Pete said, we are an out-of-the-box, cloud-based performance management application. We cover subject matter of all things financial, balance sheet, income statement, as well as doing a loan deposit member analysis, And to do that, we need to extract data from source systems. So we need to get a snapshot of general ledger accounting data, loans, deposits, shares, and some non-PII member data. So the challenge for us, if you like, for every one of our credit unions is, where do we get that data? How can we extract it? How can we automate that process? And how can we push that data into BankBI? Up until now, with version 3, we started a couple of years ago, actually, and we started with Ideal Credit Union. They've been live with BankBI for over 2 years now. And so we built with OnApproach a connection to the version 3 Ultra data system that Ideal had. And we implemented that, and that's been running fine for the last 2 years. And then we followed that up with America's Credit Union, another OnApproach M360 user, and I believe they use the Episys system, so a slightly different flavor of the connection to that version of M360. But the challenge as we go forward is all of the credit unions are moving, obviously, to version 4, and we now have another 6 clients who are signed up to use BankBI with M360. So we needed to move to a more generic version, or more generic capability to extract data from version 4, hence the data service connector. And that's why we've been working so closely with OnApproach and now Trellance to try and bring that to the market, because it's a win-win-win situation, we feel, for Trellance, for the credit union, and for partner companies like BankBI. So Pete mentioned these quick connects. So I thought I'd just very simply say, what is a quick connect? Well, in your M360 data model, you will have a whole series of tables, mainly dimension and fact tables. So one of the challenges about reading data from the data model is, how do you join together all of those fact and dimension tables? Do you have to become an expert in the model, the data model, and all of the joins required? And one of the benefits of the quick connects are that they give you, as their name implies, a simple place to go to get data from on a particular subject matter in a single row table orientation. So if I was extracting a loan file and I wanted to bring all loans out into a single file or table, I may have to join many fact or dimension tables to get to that list of loans. So what the Quick Connect does is it hides those joins for me. I can simply read from the Quick Connect, and in simple terms, it's an SQL Server view over the data model in M360. So if we look at those Quick Connect views, they cover a range of subject matters. So they give us a very simple way of pulling credit card information, collateral information, loan information, deposit information, teller information, financial information. So a number of subject matter related Quick Connects, as the names imply, gives us details about that subject matter in a single row column orientation where I don't have to worry about the joins. So out of the box at version 4, you have these Quick Connect views, which can be used for multiple purposes. So not just obviously for the data service, which we're talking about today, but obviously can be the way you access the data model, could be used in reporting, could be used in creating other queries for other purposes. Those Quick Connects have some documentation about them. So we dug into that documentation and we found we could look at all of the individual elements or fields in the various Quick Connects. We could look at that across the different Quick Connects. So you could take a field level view across the Quick Connects, or alternatively, you could drill into an individual Quick Connect. So here I'm looking at the Quick Connect for the loan portfolio, and it's giving me all of the element or the fields in that view. It's giving me the definition of that of those fields as well. So it's really reducing the complexity down to a single extract that I can go and query the data model and get back all of that data. You'll also see here some information about the definition of the field and also the value set, any particular defined values or the type of field it is, and also where the field is originated from. So that's the Quick Connect layer, which is giving you that access to the data model. What the data service then does is leverages those quick connects to turn those views into precisely the data sets that you want to hand off to a partner like BankBI. So we start with the quick connect view, which is giving us the simple view lens into the data model. And what the data service does is it runs every day as part of the data load process, and it creates a SQL table of all of those quick connect views. So you start with many tables in the data model. The quick connect brings them to one view, and what the data service does is creates a snapshot of that view at that particular point in time. And the benefit of that is that you can extract the data once from the data model, from the data warehouse, but now you can configure the push of that data to each partner based on the data needs of that partner. So you may have a partner that is just looking for some member information. You may have a partner that's looking for just loan information, another that's looking for general ledger financial information, and so on. So you can configure data sets from the using the data service for each of those individual partners. And as Pete indicated, you can do that through a very simple mechanism, which is an Excel spreadsheet or a series of spreadsheets per partner. So the two Excels at the top there represent two partners, in this case, BankBI and partner 2. You can configure the fields and the tables that you want to give each partner separately. So you pull or extract the data once, and you push it based on those configurations to the CSV files, the text files that you're going to send to that individual partner. So those two partners could have different sets of data with different field requirements, and they can be configured separately. So fairly simple process using a fairly simple mechanism of configuring through Excel spreadsheets the data that you want to hand off to each partner. So just to recap, the quick connect is a view into the data model and giving you a subject matter view of the data. The data service leverages the quick connect view, and per partner lets you configure which fields and which data files you want to send out to each partner. So to configure the data service, for every quick connect, there is a configuration file. And this is, as I said, a simple Excel file. And you would configure these for each partner. So there would be a set for BankBI. And this is where you are defining for each partner the fields that you're going to push from the standard quick connect data elements and fields that are extracted as part of the close of business or the data load. So what this allows us to do then is to select which of these subject matters we want to give the partner, allows you to go in and configure it. So inside of those files, the configuration files, you'll see what's called the API name. So in this case, it's the Loan Portfolio Quick Connect. So this is everything to do with loans. And in the second column, you'll see the M360 element or column name. And in the next field, you can see the output field or column name you want to call this when you give it to the partner. So this allows you to mutually agree with a partner what you're going to call the field once it's been extracted and once it's been pushed into the CSV file that you're going to hand off to the partner. Now, you could give them the same field name that's in M360 by default, but if you have a partner that needs a specific field name, this is where you can configure that partner's field name inside of the Excel spreadsheet. Also, very importantly, over on the right-hand side, you have the ability to configure some output options with regards to those fields. There are obviously many sensitive fields where there are personally identifiable information inside the data model, and maybe you don't want to hand off PII data to a partner. In fact, BankBI specifically does not hold any member PII data in its data model. So we definitely don't want any information regarding members, telephones, emails, names, addresses, or anything like that. So this is where you can configure the extract to only output the fields that you want. Now, in some cases, we need to have some fields like member ID or account ID because we're going to look up maybe a loan from a loan file to looking up the member in a member file. So to get around the problem of having to send us clear text member ID or account ID values, what you're able to do is to create a hash or an encryption of the member ID or the account ID. So by putting an H into that option column in the top right, what that is doing is using the account ID, but creating an encryption of it and hashing it so that when we as BankBI receive it, we cannot reverse it back to the original account or member ID, but we can use it to look up the same account ID in an associated table that we may be getting. So as I said, joining to the member to maybe get a credit score for the member may be then facilitated by using this mechanism. So there are a number of values here. We can include it, clear text, we can hash it, we can blank the column, we can null the column, we can simply exclude the column completely from the output. So it's very important that you agree with the partner just the right of information that the partner needs, that you are in control of configuring this, and that the first time you run this, you obviously check the files that you're about to send to the partner to make sure that it has just the right information that you require in here. So the good thing about this is it's all under your control as a credit union. You don't need to go back to Trellance or OnApproach to configure this. You can do this simply by configuring the Excel spreadsheet. It is configurable by partner, as we said. And of course, out of the box, a partner like BankBI will give you a standard configuration here. So you don't need to work through this and kind of work it out. We will give you the configuration that we recommend and that we require, and it'll be a simple case for each credit union to run that, to check that, and ensure they're happy with the data that they're sending on to us. So let's just get into some summary of the benefits then around that Quick Connect. So what that's giving us is really out of the box M360 integration. So as Pete said, we don't need to sort of engage any programmers here to do any development. We have a mechanism with a configurable set of files, which makes it easy to extract. It becomes a standard extract regardless of the core. So unlike at version 3, where we have different flavors of extract depending on your core banking system, at version 4, we can build a single extract to a single data model with a single configuration that will work for a partner like BankBI. We gain some efficiency here, and especially for you as a credit union, as I said, being able to extract that data once, create an instance of it as tables at the close of business, and then to be able to push elements of that data out per partner means that you have a consistent set of data from which you are supplying any other applications. And we talk about partners here, but equally that could be your own models you're using internally, or your own reporting, or your own processes that you might build internally. So there's a lot of advantage, I think, in using this mechanism internally as well as externally for a partner as well, because we all would leverage the same Quick Connect views and therefore have the same view of the data model. As I said earlier, you have full control over what is sent to a partner. You can protect personal information and ensure it's not transmitted, and but still maintain the ability to look up on key fields like member ID and account ID. So you put all of this together, and we feel that this is going to be a very simple and rapid mechanism to deploy. It's going to make it very easy for a partner to configure and connect to M360. It's going to make it very easy and simple for a credit union to implement that connection. And we'll be able to run these quick connects without, you know, as I say, too much technical or programmer capability. So what does that mean in practice? Well, I've just done a little screenshot here of the BankBI solution. And one of the reports that we run on a daily basis is basically bringing in the GL, general ledger data, and the core banking. In this case, I'm showing the loan data. So why is this important? Well, as you will be well aware, data flowing into the data model, the data warehouse every day, gives you a challenge. Firstly, converting to version 4 is a challenge. Secondly, reconciling the data when you get to version 4. And then being able to have faith in the integrity of that data on an ongoing basis is really important. So how do you do that in an easy way? Well, one way is through a tool like BankBI, which is effectively pulling two of the key data sources out of the data model. Firstly, we're pulling the general ledger balances to create the balance sheet and income statement inside of BankBI. So even if you're using an accounting solution, a Prolog, or you're using your core banking system as your GL system, BankBI can recreate the financial statements, can give you the performance analysis, financial ratios based on that data. But equally, we can then pull through the loans and deposits through the data warehouse from the core banking system, and we can roll those up by GL account so that we can see where we match and where we might differ. So on this example here, we have a difference between the total loan portfolio of the GL and the core banking system. And as I drill down into it, you can get right down to individual GL accounts to see where there is a difference between what the data warehouse is saying and the core versus what the GL is saying. So this integrity and check of the data model is a sort of continuous reconciliation process, very simple to run. It's automated as part of the BankBI solution. It gives you that view into the data warehouse through the lens of financial statements, which is really going to the heart of ensuring that what you have in the data warehouse is true, is accurate, and where there are differences, you maybe know why there are differences. And sometimes differences do occur, timing of data flows, back valuation. There are reasons why there may be a disconnect between the general ledger balance and the core banking system, but nevertheless, you should be able to understand and know why and where those occur, and therefore they become an important part of your reconciliation capability of looking down across all of your systems. So as I say, this is the standard end product, if you like, of a BankBI implementation. So imagine you've implemented the data service connector, we've switched it on very rapidly, data is flowing from the general ledger, data is flowing from the loan deposit quick connect views through the data service into BankBI, and then through mapping inside of BankBI, we're able to reconnect all of the loans by product type, by account type, back to their GL accounts to reconcile and check that the sum of the core does equal the general ledger. So hopefully that's given you a good overview of the solution and what the capabilities are. Where we are right now is in the end process of testing that at Ideal Credit Union, and we're in the verge of then rolling this out to those other credit unions that I talked about. And we should be able to roll it out pretty rapidly based on, as I said, the standard configuration. Now, as Pete alluded to, part of the process of extracting the data is also getting the data out of your credit union into the partner solution. In BankBI's case, we are a cloud-based solution. To us, that means Microsoft Azure. In the United States, we're deployed in South Central in Texas. So for each of our credit unions, what we need to do is get that source data out of M360 into the CSV files and then pushed into our cloud application. And the way we do that is by supplying a local Windows service called the upload agent to each of our credit unions. So the upload agent is simply a local process which is running on a server, which is waiting for those quick connect files to be created through the data service every day. And so when the CSV files are created and appear in a folder, the BankBI upload agent recognizes those files and connects to the BankBI system and pushes the data through automatically into the BankBI system. So in this way, the entire process can be end-to-end automated. So for our clients like Ideal Credit Union, the CFO, Dennis Barr, could get up in the morning, go to breakfast, get his iPad out, open up BankBI, and all of the data is refreshed from the night before. Not just the financials, but all the loan, deposit, new production, new lending, new deposits, new lending on a month-to-date, up-to-date basis. So this process is fully automated. We don't need any human intervention to step in to make anything happen. For all of our clients, it's a fully automated process. So, as I said, benefits are very clear, hopefully. A little bit about what you might want to do next if you're interested. We do have a promotion running, which runs to the end of June. We are coming to the AXFI conference in a week or so's time on the 9th to 12th. So if you happen to be at that conference, please come and look us up. If you need to get information before then, feel free to come back to us individually. And my colleague Keith Waterman is on the call, and you can find us at bankbi.com, or you can email us at keith.waterman@bankbi.com, or to myself, graham.goebel@bankbi.com. So that wraps up my part of the presentation. So Pete, I'm going to hand back to you.
Thank you, Graham. Appreciate it very much. I am going to just quick switch over to back to my screen here. And just as Graham had showed your information, Graham, just wanted to emphasize that you can get a hold of me as well if you have particular questions. We'll take a look and see if there are any questions here before we close. But you can contact me with regard to the data service and the licensing and all that kind of thing, and then certainly Graham and Keith for the BankBI part. I'll also note that I mentioned the CU App Store, which is the really the underwriter of our webinar series. You can check out the CU App Store, as I mentioned. And finally, as Graham mentioned, next week, or about a week from Monday, starts our AXFI conference in Minneapolis. It's not too late to sign up. Online registration goes through the 6th of June. So we encourage you very much to attend it. It is the premier data analytics for credit unions meeting in the US. It is where everyone is going to learn about data analytics and to talk to other credit unions about what they're doing today. Thank you very much. Again, please feel free to contact us. Another option for you to contact Trellance is through your engagement manager. They will have access to the information about the data service and working with the partners. So with that, I thank everyone very much for your attendance today. Graham, thank you for your time today. It was very enlightening as usual. And then we will say goodbye to everyone, and thank you for attending today.